This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. So I'm scrolling through social media. I see that Browns fans are mad at Colin Cowherd, and I'm gonna be honest with you. My first reaction wasn't like to be annoyed or even angry with anything that people were mad at Colin Cowherd about. It was kind of like when you run into an old classmate and you just like, damn, boy, I ain't seen you in a minute. It's been a long time since I've talked about Colin Cowherd or reacted to a clip from Colin Cowherd's show. I mean, honestly, I don't know if he's had these bad takes. Maybe he has had a bunch of bad takes, and I just stopped paying attention for a while, or they just did not hit my radar for a while. But I think the last time I talked about Colin Cowherd was on the Q and Code channel back when we used to react to takes on that channel before the Q and Code show was a podcast. It was us reacting to stuff from like hot takes shows and Colin Cowherd and all of that. And he was talking about how Russell Wilson's still a franchise quarterback. Since then, I really haven't been tapped in with what Colin Cowherd has had to say. But apparently he said something made Browns fans mad. Let's roll the clip.
So this is my pre-camp, before any injuries, pre-camp predictions. Let's start in the AFC East. The Bills have won the division 4 straight years. I'm giving it to them. The Dolphins, it's an offensive league, had the #1 total offense in the NFL, and Tua threw for 4,600 passing yards. It's an offensive league. The Jets, third, yes, they have a great defense. O-line questions, head coach is defensive. Aaron has not taken a snap. More than 4 snaps in 559 days in the NFL. Hasn't taken more than 4 snaps. Sorry about the great defense. Jets third, Patriots fourth. I think that's the first or second worst offense.
Hey, and before they even get to the AFC North, isn't Colin Cowherd like a big Aaron Rodgers guy? Or at least he used to be a big Aaron Rodgers guy. I know he fits the profile of people that Colin Cowherd loves, California quarterbacks, right? He tends to love those guys. I don't know if any of Aaron's off the field antics have rubbed him the wrong way. Have no idea. I haven't been tapped in to what Colin Cowherd has been saying, but for him to be that out on Aaron Rodgers when he is usually pretty high on quarterbacks, like remember how long he hung on to Sam Darnold? That's interesting there. But do I disagree with where he has that aligned? The AFC East, I don't know if Buffalo is one in the regular season. I think Buffalo is ultimately a more serious playoff threat than the Dolphins, but I don't think both of those teams are serious. Patriots 4. I think that's a pretty easy division to get, but let's see what he says for the next one.
Roster in the league. AFC North, it's the best division in football, so it's inches, not feet. Listen, the Ravens, top 5 offense, top 5 defense, and the best special teams coach in the league. I have them winning the division. Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow.
I don't really disagree with what he's saying or the reasoning behind what he's saying, or at least for the Ravens here. Best special teams coach in the league? Hey man, when have we ever did that? Like, I'm honest question. When has that ever been a reason to hype a team up? Hey, dog, they got the best special teams coach in the league. It's over with. Yeah. We got one of the best special teams coaches. What? Honestly, like bragging about something like that makes me think that your team must be bad, because who cares about anything like that unless your team is ass? Now the Ravens ain't ass. I'm just saying, like, weird flex, dog. Weird flex. That is, he had to have meant something else. Maybe special teams unit in the league. Not really true, by the way. Justin Tucker had a down year last year, and the punting was fine. The punting was good, but Justin Tucker, I mean, he's kind of riding on reputation more than he is off his work from last year. But either way, a weird thing to flex. Oh, especially in a division that not a single team has bad special teams. Weird flex, man. Weird flex, but let's run it.
Top 5 offense, top 5 defense, and the best special teams coach in the league. I have him winning the division. Have proven when Joe's healthy, they win. What do you want me to say? Last year with Jake Browning, they had a winning record. With Jake Browning, Burrows.
All right. I want to see if he remembers that he said that. So he puts the Bengals at number 2, partly because of the reputation that Joe Burrow and the Bengals have when they're healthy. And I think that's fair. And look, I'm pretty high on the Bengals. I say the Bengals are going to be second place. I think the Ravens or the Cleveland Browns, one of those teams are either going to be in third or last or first place. But the Bengals, I feel like they're a good bet to be in 2. So I don't really disagree with that positioning there for the Baltimore Ravens or even the Cincinnati Bengals. It's just interesting. Hey, man, they won 10 games with Sam Browning. That matters when Colin is ranking these teams in this division. Now, here's where he loses me. He has Pittsburgh at 3 and Cleveland at 4. Let's see how he justifies this.
Last year with Jake Browning, they had a winning record. With Jake Browning, Burrow's back in, they're a playoff team. Steelers, they can't figure out their O-line or their offensive coordinator. I love their roster, frankly. I worry in an offensive league about getting it right on that side of the ball. Love the coach in Cleveland. Total question mark on Deshaun Watson. Weird personality, weird injuries. I'll just put him 4th for now.
All right, he clearly didn't put much time into this. He clearly did not put much time into this. I mean, I think that part is obvious. The mismatch of explanation he had there. I'm going to try to play it again to get a better explanation of what he was trying to say. But, I mean, this was like, I don't know. Like, he done lost it. Like, usually with Colin, he'll say stuff you disagree with, but he's clear and concise with why he's saying whatever dumb shit he's saying. This one is like he just kind of like it showed up on the prompter. And I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm pretty sure it's not. But it's like he saw it pop up on a prompter and forgot his explanation and just kind of muffled through, because he goes with Pittsburgh and he's like, well, they don't have an offensive line. They are a bad offensive team. And in Cleveland, he's like, I love the coach, but Deshaun Watson's a question mark. But then, like, to justify Cincinnati being 2, he mentioned that they won 10 games with Jake Browning. Jake Browning, that's a direct quote from what he said. So, like, no mention of the Browns winning 11 and making the playoffs with like 5 different quarterbacks. 4 of them you can make the argument easily worse than Jake Browning. 1 of them it's debatable. But let me try to hear it again, because it didn't sound concise. So let me try to listen to it again to see if I missed something.
Jake Browning, they had a winning record. With Jake Browning, Burrow's back in, they're a playoff team. Steelers, they can't figure out their O-line or their offensive coordinator. I love their roster, frankly. I worry in an offensive league about...
They can't figure out their O-line or their offensive coordinator. But you love their roster? Like, was he talking about Pittsburgh and then jump to Cleveland without, like, ending his statement of Pittsburgh? Because that makes no sense.
Steelers, they can't figure out their O-line or their offensive coordinator. I love their roster, frankly. I worry in an offensive league about getting it right on that side of the ball. Love the coach in Cleveland.
Okay, so that's his explanation for Steelers being number 3. They can't figure out their offensive line, offensive coordinator. The Cleveland Browns have a figured out offensive line, offensive coordinator situation. The Steelers, I think they have bigger questions at quarterback than the Cleveland Browns. I mean, the Browns are wondering if a quarterback who is under 30, who was a 3-time Pro Bowler, can get back to form. The Steelers are asking that same question about a 35-year-old Russell Wilson or a player in Justin Fields who has never really showed anything in the NFL. So, I mean, it's Colin Cowherd. And I don't say that to be dismissive or to act like Colin Cowherd is an idiot. It's just, I don't think he's trying to bait us. I think this take is weird because it's not like he's trying to bait us. Like, there's not enough here for me to think that he's trying to bait us. Like, I have to think that this is what he or his team genuinely feels. And I also think this is what happens when people rank teams, but what they're really ranking in their head is quarterbacks. I saw like a power ranking list of all 32 teams, and they had the Browns 22nd. They had like the Chicago Bears 15. And to me, what became obvious with that power rankings list was it was not a team power rankings list. This was not about who's going to be the best teams in football. This is about how I feel about the quarterback completely dictates how I feel about the team. And that's a dangerous hole to fall down. I think we do this too much. I think this is the new lazy trick people have fallen on. Oh, I feel this about their quarterback, so I think this about their team, and that's going to align. There are some quarterbacks in the league that I think are great, but I don't love their situation. Justin Herbert's a perfect example. I think Justin Herbert is a top 10 quarterback. I don't think the Chargers are a top 10 team, not even close. I don't trust Jim Harbaugh. I don't trust Greg Roman. I don't trust those two with Justin Herbert. They have no wide receivers. They're not a good team. They were an awful team defensively last year. I don't think they did enough to fix that. Now they're going to sprinkle Jim Harbaugh dust all over and just fix it. Doesn't make any sense to me. But when people do their rankings, just next time you see like a power ranking list and you're like, wow, the Browns for a team that won 11-6 and returned all their starters from last year, and they're getting back Nick Chubb, they're getting back a lot of guys at the end of the season healthy with, they seem to be very low on this power ranking. Look at the power ranking and ask yourself, oh, were they ranking quarterbacks? Because if you're ranking quarterbacks and you put Deshaun Watson at 22, it's fair. Anywhere you put Deshaun Watson, so you put Deshaun Watson at 10, it's fair. You could put Deshaun Watson at 30, it's fair. We don't know what Deshaun Watson is right now. He hasn't played enough games consecutively for this team for us to have a good sample. I talk about it all the time. If that's what I think is going on here, if you look at Colin Cowherd's list, this makes sense to certain people if you're ranking quarterbacks, because there are people who will make the argument that Russ had better numbers last year. He's a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson. I don't think that's a good argument, but it's an argument that exists, and that's valid enough that people would do that for. If you're ranking quarterbacks, oh, how that division is lined up makes sense. It makes sense for how he lined up the AFC East, right? The Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Patriots. Then you go and you look at where else he ranked. The AFC West, Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, whatever they got going on in Denver, whatever they got going on in Las Vegas. Makes sense. All right, let's look at his AFC South. Okay, you got CJ Stroud. Okay, it makes sense. Trevor Lawrence. Okay, it makes sense. Then you got the Colts. You got the Titans. Seems to go parallel with how you feel about the quarterback. Now, it's not one-to-one. There are times where I do think he's genuinely trolling here, where he ranks the Commanders above the Cowboys. And that is definitely to get engagement, because if you want to troll a fan base in the middle of June and get your numbers up, dog, the Cowboys are the one to do it. They will drive up engagement. But you look at most of these other rankings, you can pretty much draw a straight line from who plays quarterback for them to where Colin Cowherd ranks them in his power ranking. And it's basically going to be one-to-one. Like, look here. Look at this. This proves my point exactly. This is how he ranked the NFC West. He has the Rams over the 49ers in the NFC West. This is not a joke. He has the Rams over the 49ers. Then he has the Seahawks Cardinals. Now, let me hear his justification. Before I'm lighting him up right now. Let me hear his justification.
Like the Rams, I thought they had a back-to-back sensational drafts. Finished top 10 in total offense and scoring last year. I really like what they've done with their defensive front in the last 2 drafts. Niners are good, but they're an old, expensive football team.
What?
Watch out for injuries and the Brandon Ayuk noise. Seattle, hey, they finished 9-8. Geno Smith's good enough to win you games.
Yeah, my man's ranking quarterbacks. That's basically what's happening here. And that's what happens with a lot of power rankings and why a lot of people put out trash power rankings. They put too much emphasis on the quarterback position. Now, again, we all know the quarterback position is important. It's the most important individual position in football. But that doesn't mean that where you stand at quarterback completely dictates where you stand as a football team. It's an indicator, but it's not the only thing. You got to do the other work. Cleveland Browns are a clear indicator of a team that their quarterback situation should not be the main overriding factor if you think they're going to be over 500 or not. Past that, like we're talking about championship team, we're talking about Super Bowl, yes, quarterback matters. But if we're just talking about the Browns can win like 10 games, the quarterback doesn't really factor into that as much because what makes the Browns a 10-win team is not the quarterback position. It's what we know everything else about the Browns. It's Nick Chubb. It's the defense. It's David Njoku. It's all of those things. Again, it's something I noticed. Colin Cowherd just played into it beautifully. A lot of national people do this. I think it's a convenient cheat code too, because nobody's going to argue with you, right? If a team has a bad quarterback, you rank them lowly and you say it's because of the quarterback. Nobody's really going to make an argument with you. But I mean, come on, we got to call a spade at some point. Like, he's ranking quarterbacks. That's what he's doing. And even putting the Commanders over the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know where he is on Dak, but that could also be he's just incredibly high on Jaden Daniels. Like, you never know with Colin Cowherd, but that's what a lot of people are doing. So when you see these power rankings and the Browns are ranked 22, it's not because people have done an honest evaluation of the entire Browns roster, and that's what they think the Browns are going to put out based on what they did last year, who they're returning, who they're not returning. It's not like this deep analysis. A lot of times, a lot of these people are just like, who plays quarterback for them? I'll put them here. But that's my 2 cents on it. It was nice to see Colin again. Now, I know because he worked for Fox Sports, they be thirsty to get me on copyright. So that video going to look all kind of jacked up. It might sound all kind of jacked up on y'all and hopefully is legible. But I got to get that through the Content ID system. But yeah, nice to see you, Colin. Nice to know that things have not changed that much. But y'all have a great day, man. Have an even better night. Peace.